I have a question, and I know you all are muted, so you can either raise your hand virtually or you can raise it the old school way with your actual arm, which is cool. And Frida, I will give you pics of the baby today, for sure at the end of it. She's shaking her head. I wanted I had my if you all weren't here earlier this week, I had my colleague Sean Craddock on. He's on with us again, and he's I would say really cool. He's not as cool as me. Actually, he's a little bit cooler than me. I'm gonna be honest. He teaches workshops as well, so he may butt in because this workshop he teaches in person. So I asked him to join again because he came during a tech hour just to kind of see how we all are doing this via Zoom because most of the times he's teaching is in person. So he will probably butt in, so don't just think he's just some regular stranger if you didn't see him before. He's a cool guy. In addition to that, today is a very exciting class because I love talking about tech in general, but today we're going to be talking about just this whole IoT, the Internet of Things, smart home things. And with that, we always talk about security. With everything, we talk about security. So I'll tell you about all the nice bells and whistles, all the cool things you could do with this stuff. But if you have this stuff, I want you to be able to feel secure and to get it in a way where you're protected, because these things, although most of them don't actually have an interface where you can type into it, and like such as like the voice assistants or any type of IoT or smart home devices, they can still be hacked. So we're going to talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly today. And I just wanted, before we get started, by raise of hands, how many of you have Alexas at home? Anybody out there have an Alexa? Okay, I see a couple of hands. Okay, cool. Got it. All right. And how about the Apple HomePod? Now they don't make the big guy anymore. They're making the small one. Anybody have the Apple HomePod, and that's going to be with Siri? Okay, now if you don't have that, how many of you have iPhones with Siri? Okay, cool. That usually makes sense. And one last one, the most popular one. I mean, I know you have Cortana on a Windows computer, but the other one, big one, is going to be the Google Home. Anybody have the Google Home out there? Okay, Frida has the Google Home. Perfect. And I'm seeing other hand. All right, perfect. All right, the reason why I asked is, I'm going to talk about them all anyway, but I just wanted to kind of get an idea. And I was able to see a lot of the people who raised their hand. So what's common is that more people have Alexa than any other device out there. And I'll tell you why. It's not because it's cheaper or it's easier to use. Amazon has done a great job in marketing their device, and it also allows other smart home or IoT devices, such as light bulbs and all of this stuff, to work with their platform. So people are adopting Amazon Alexas a lot faster than other things. And then Alexa is tied into, if you have a Fire Stick, you could say, Alexa, play Netflix or whatever the case may be. So it's really integrated into their system. And you can also just have it on your phone. Now with Siri was like one of the first out there that allowed this and kind of kicked this whole thing off. But most people have Siri on their iPhone, like I just saw everyone raise their hand. So it's cool if you have Siri on your iPhone, because you could still do a lot of really cool stuff with Siri on your iPhone or your iPad or your Mac computer. You even have her on your watch. Now with the Google Home is a pretty popular one as well. And I will find that the devices in people's homes, they like to use the Google Home. You could play music. You could do all of the same things. But a lot of people, when I go to their home, they are just using it like Nicole had mentioned. Like, hey, Siri, what's the weather? Like every single day. And that's it. Or they say, play a little Frank Sinatra for me. And that's it. And I'm like, hey, did you know you can actually, have, Siri, and she's actually listening to me. Shut up, Siri. Get over there. You can actually have her do crazy numbers. Sometimes I'm like, hey, Siri, how many cups are in 33 ounces, or 33 ounces in, all of this stuff. And you could do all of this math. So as you're cooking and you want to find out how many ounces are in a pound or whatever the case may be, or when you're looking at teaspoons and tablespoons, she can do those conversions for you. She can also look up certain things. So if you don't know something, sometimes Siri, Alexa, any of those voice assistants will be able to provide you that information, or at least point you in the right direction. Now, they're getting smarter and smarter and smarter. And how are they getting smart? Well, they're getting smart because we're teaching them. They're learning from us. Everything the questions in which we ask, just on a deeper level. And let me just see here. I'm just pulling this down so I can see your lovely faces. Every time we're asking them questions, every time we are talking around them, they are always listening. So Alexa is very clear about what she's doing. She's like, Amazon has stated, if you ever read the terms and conditions, they're always listening to what you are doing. And not only are they trying to spy on your conversation, they're not trying to find out what Eileen's having for breakfast or what Susan's going for a vacation. They're not doing that. They're listening to it, but they're listening to the semantics. They're listening to the tone, the pitch, all of this stuff in your voice. So when you say, if you say, hey, I'm hungry right now, they're listening to if you're angry, if you're happy, if everything, because we're teaching these voice assistants how to communicate better with us and how to understand semantics, how to understand, cool versus cool, or hot versus hot, whatever, we have all of this different slang. So with that being said, we're going to jump right into it. And as I mentioned, everything is connected. I'm not sure how many of you have like smart lights, or you have now, the smart TVs. You have the, which is like right now, if you buy a TV, every TV is pretty much smart. And what that means is smart has the capability of having a voice assistant integrated with it. In addition to that, we've talked about streaming. It's smart so that it can have Netflix, have Amazon Prime, have HBO Max, and it can do more than what the big tube TVs were able to do back in the day. They just add another layer to what you normally are, what you normally watched in the past, and now they're connected devices. So they're connected to the internet. Everything that you're going to get from this day forward, when it comes down to technology, there will be a way to either connect it to another device via either Bluetooth and or Wi-Fi. So we're living in this very connected world. And as crazy as this might sound, it's the truth. One day your clothes may be connected, literally like having a tag in your clothes and it's connected to the internet, because when you walk in the mall and you walk past one of those stores, we saw this back in Back to the Future years ago, where it was advertising to them. So there is ways. They already talked about these different things that are going to be connected, and right now they're starting in the home. Your stove, well, not my stove, but I've seen stoves that are connected to the internet, refrigerators connected to the internet, toilets connected to the internet. And I'm like, wait, what can a toilet do when it's connected to the internet? Tell you that you ate beans and sprouts today? Who knows? But they're connected and they're able to tell you how many flushes, how much water you're using with that toilet. It's pretty crazy, just to kind of give you this analytics. But I told you I'll talk about the good and the bad and the ugly. So I'm going to pause there to let you know that everything is connected. And then we'll talk about what I know Frida brings up, like how everything is kind of crazy. They may be watching you, and you're right. So we'll get into all of that. So I know a lot of people who have the connected vacuum cleaner, and that's a really cool feature. They're supposed to work right. There's some people who have problems with it, but A lot of people actually have these iRobot vacuum cleaners. There are different ones that are connected to the internet, and they're just supposed to know, like, hey, at this time, I need to go and clean up some stuff. So they'll just go around your house and start cleaning up. You have the toasters that are connected, the coffee machines that are connected, so that at 6 a.m., when your alarm goes off, it literally pushes to the coffee machine that you loaded up the night before, and it starts to make your coffee so that it's ready for you, which I think is cool, but whatever. A lot of cool stuff. So as we get into this here, let's go here. We had this slide, and I thought I'm looking for a similar one, but this is still really cool. The reason why I bring this slide up is that it was created in, like, if I'm not mistaken, like 2011, 2012 beginning. And it was just showing the progression of the adoption of IoT things. Now, I use that term already. It means the Internet of Things. So they came out with this term to kind of label, like, we have computers, we have smartphones, we have tablets, we have smart watches. The Internet of Things are the smart devices. So you can have voice assistants all day long, and they do exactly what you ask them, in a sense that, hey, tell me the weather, tell me this, who was the first president, things of that nature. But they also connect to these Internet of Things, and they are in that category of IoT devices, Internet of Things. So remember that term. This was the adoption that they predicted back in the day, and this is in the billions, 8.7 billion connected devices in 2012 to 50 billion devices. And I would say we exceeded that number. Now we're in 2022. Everybody has, even if you have an Android phone, you have an Apple phone, on that Android phone, you have access to a voice assistant. On your your iPhone, you have access to a voice assistant. It acts as more than just a phone. It does so much more. It connects you to your internet, to your email, and to the world beyond. You could start a chat up in a second with somebody that's in freaking Japan, and you don't even have to know them, but you have access to do it. That window via your smartphone will take you all around the world and connect you to these IoT devices. So with that, following up on all of the different smart home devices that we have, I'll let you just kind of look at this slide, and as you're looking at it, I'll tell you what I have in my house and why I chose to have it in my house. I like technology, but I don't want too much technology. I live in a very old home that was built in the 1920s, and there's no electricity in the wall. So to get a switch, we found out that even the switches that we saw on the wall, they're not real. They're just like radioactive, in a sense that, it's a little radio frequency that turns off the lights. So I wasn't too big on getting a bunch of smart lights, but now it's a lot easier. So I have put smart light bulbs that I got from Amazon. I connect those light bulbs to the internet, and now they're connected to the internet, right? I have a smart door lock so that I'm able to control and know when the lock is open, when it's closed. And I can do that. So when I leave out, I'm able to lock it with a key, or I can lock it the smart way by touching it. I have cameras on my property where I'm able to see my backyard and different places in the house, and I'm able to see all of these different things and control it all from my remote control and or my cell phone. That's what I call it, my remote control to the world. So I have that. The smart TV functionality, I really don't use it. I do have smart plugs. So if there's a light, I have one light in my house that is not smart whatsoever. It just, when I plug it into a smart plug, the plug is smart, and I plug that plug into the wall, connect the plug to the internet, and I'll show you what these things look like. And then at that point, I make the light smart. So now I can say, hey, Siri, turn off the, oh, sorry, I keep saying it. I won't say her name anymore because she keeps waking up. Hey, whatever your name is, turn off the living room lights, turn off the kitchen lights. dim the living room lights to 1%. I can open up the door. I can do all of these different things with the voice assistant that I have in my house. The thermostat. Hey, I just did this like 2 weeks ago, and this is a true story. It was very, very funny. I said, what I asked Siri, I asked her what was the temperature at, and she basically told me, like I said, what's the temperature? No, where's the temperature at? And she said, it's in the hallway. So I'll tell you why that's funny, because I was asking her, or trying to ask her, what is the degrees in the house? And she told me the location of where my AC was. And I'm like, well, that's not what I'm trying to ask you. I want to know what the temperature is in the house. So my wife and I, we laughed, and I'm like, okay, I have to ask her a certain way. I bring that up because there are certain ways in which you need to position these questions to your voice assistant. Sometimes when I'm teaching these classes, and Sean can speak to this as well, when I throw the mic to him, basically people are like, I hate Siri. I don't like Alexa. She never understands me. And I'm like, well, it's the way in which you actually talk to her. So again, semantics and how you ask that question will be the way in which they answer that question. So you want to be very direct, and I'll give you some, examples in a minute. So let's move on. And I want to just talk about just kind of like a little bit of how we got here. So we saw 2012, all the way to 2020 with the adoption of smart home devices. Back in the day, I remember my dad came home, this was in the late 80s, with a brick phone. And it was a cell phone. And I thought he was the coolest dude on planet Earth because I saw it in the movies. I'm like, my dad has one of those phones. Now, mind you, it probably weighed as much as I did, but he had this huge brick phone. And I was like, I wanted to play with it. And at that time, I'm sure the minutes cost like $8 a minute, but he had one. And then my mom wanted to get one because he had one. So we had two in the house, and I remember playing with these. And then that kind of got sized down to this more like the brick, but it was like a flip phone, but it was still pretty heavy and everything. And I was like, wow, this is cool. But when you were on 1G, that was the brick phone. You were able to make and receive phone calls. That's it. No data transfer, no nothing, just phone calls. Now, when you went to 2G, you were able to transmit data. And even though text messaging was not as popular, you were able to do it. So late 90s, when you were able to send texts, everyone was not on board. They had no idea what it was, but you were able to do it. And only a few people I remember was doing it, because at the same time, a lot of people had pagers or beepers, right? So, you can send a couple of messages like, I love you, spell out some letters and things of that nature. But the 2G was able to transmit that data as well as make and receive phone calls. Now, 3G, when we got 3G, this is when you were really able to take advantage of like the App Store. You got the iPhone and all of this stuff. They introduced us these apps. So now our phones started turning into these little computers, and we were able to go beyond just texting and things of that nature. You can actually get on there and check your email. You can go on the World Wide Web and just do things on your phone that you weren't able to do before. And at that time, a lot of people were like, what are you doing with your phone? You take, Instagram wasn't really out at actually, it wasn't out at the very beginning, but people aren't really taking pictures like that. It got to a point where 3G, it wasn't fast enough. It wasn't able to transmit the data fast enough. So they went to 4G. And then 4G and then the LTE, these were faster speeds that were allowing you to do a lot more with your devices. So a lot of you still may see that if you are on 5G, you may bounce back to LTE or 4G when you're in a place where you can't get the 5G. So if you're taking a road trip or you're, just in a place where you don't get the best service, you will still see 4G or LTE. Now, 5G, as we see it, people think it's just the next step. It's actually 20, 30 steps above. It's really, really, really fast speeds. So if we can go back in a time machine, and if you were to take Alexa back in the time machine, back to 2008 and try to connect it to the internet, the world wouldn't be ready for it. One, because we just weren't at a place or wired where we're okay with asking these questions to a voice assistant. We were okay with just watching it in the movies, but the world wasn't ready for it, but the internet wouldn't allow it to do what it needs to do. So everything kind of happened in stages for a reason, and it kind of geared us up to be where these Alexas and these voice assistants are able to do what they need to do. So Google came out with something called Google Glass years ago, and they were like little glasses that allow you, when you put them on, you could record things and see things in the glasses and everything. It failed. The world was not ready for it. But now everybody's talking about getting these things that are AR, augmented reality, VR, virtual reality, and the world is definitely ready for it. They are already sharing their photos of food, their dog, everything on Instagram and TikTok. So right now the world is like, how can I take selfies or take pictures of what's in the world without holding my phone? I want to record everything. So it's one of these reasons why you're seeing a lot of people, they're very happy with the advent of AR and VR. With 5G, just to kind of put it in perspective, it's going to allow more of the voice assistants to control more things, autonomous cars to drive on an internet network, because they don't have any eyes. They're just going off of the internet. That's the eyes that allow us to see. In addition to that, we're going to see more smart home devices come out. We're going to see just the technology is going to just go really, really fast once everybody's on true 5G. The 5G that you're seeing on your cell phone, that's not even, I mean, we have a pinky toe in the water right now, if that. But once 5G really comes about, then we're really going to just like go crazy with the technology. So as we go here, going back to the voice assistants, now we have an understanding of the 1G, the 2G, and all that stuff. Look, Siri came out right before 2011, and it was the coolest thing ever. People were like, what? You have Siri? But then right after Siri came out, Google launched something where you could do voice search. So now we're doing these voice searches and these things where you're saying, hey, how do I get to Miami Airport? And then it pops up for you. So everything is integrated. We have Nuance. A lot of people don't know the Nuance, Nina, that voice assistant. I haven't heard of it since. Microsoft Cortana came out. Everyone was kind of following the lead because they knew what was to come. Then Amazon reveals the Echo with the Alexa, the voice assistant in middle of 2014. You have SoundHound, which is an app that you can just basically, if you hear a song, you're like, hey, who is that playing? Is that, I don't know. You can bring out SoundHound and it'll be able to record a little bit of it and then tell you who that artist as well as that song. That came out. Then you have the Google Home and the Google Assistant. You have these other ones that are not really worth mentioning, but at the end of the day, Bixby is a really big one, which is on Samsung Android phones. Everybody's coming out with a voice assistant, and you probably will see more, but we know the ones who have really came onto the ground and put their foot down, and they're there. Siri's here to stay. Cortana will probably continue to see that. I rarely see people use it, but Alexa's here to stay and Google Home is here to stay. So let's go here and let's go to this next one here. So here's just a little image of like what these guys look like. If you have them, this is what it is. Now, this big Apple HomePod, they stated that they're no longer making it. Apple stopped making the big one. They were like $300. because they started making some that were $99 and they're this nice little cool ball. Everybody's buying those. When these came out, I probably saw maybe one in like 2 years. So no one was buying these things. When Apple lowered the price, then a lot of people are starting to buy them a lot. They're really good speakers as well. Everything that you see here are voice assistants as well as speakers. So it's just a cool Bluetooth speaker with a voice assistant. So if you like to listen to music, this is a really cool thing to have in your house. And you could just do it by voice and say, play X, play whatever. But then you're going to have like Apple Music, Spotify, Pandora, one of those different music apps, or you can even play your own music to it. But most people use one of those streaming platforms like we discussed in one of our other classes, the music streaming. So now, excuse me, the Amazon Alexa, now they're looking really cool. I told Nicole, Paige, and Ashley, we were talking about the other day, I had left a client's house, and I actually want to show you this because I thought it was just, it's nuts, but I read about it before, but I'd never seen one in person. It's the Astro. Give me 1 second. I'm going to pull this up. Very, very cool. I wouldn't get it, but I know a lot of people who are actually so into it. So here, let me share this screen with you. But it's still a voice assistant. It's still Alexa. But it's now, can you all see this? This little robot here? This is Amazon Astro. So you see the price on it. It's $1,000, way out of my budget I don't need anything like this. But basically what it does is it's security. It goes around your house. It makes sure that everything is intact. It can bring you drinks. It can actually turn off, basically it can bark at dogs. It actually barks. You can make it bark like any dog you want. You can get the Doberman voice. You can get whatever. The cool thing about it, I do think I'll see a lot more of these, but it just moves around, as you could see this, and just goes around your house, make sure everything is cool. And it records things as well. You could check on your home from anywhere. It comes, the lady who I was at their house, they have all of this tech. She said, yeah, it just comes up to me and reminds me when I have to take my medication. And I'm like, oh, that's cool. But you could set a reminder in your calendar to do that as well. Or just, maybe even use your brain, who knows? So she really liked this feature where it could bring them drinks and all of these things. Cause I asked them, like, honestly, like, why did you get it? So I just wanted to at least let you know that this thing exists. But the coolest thing about that I liked was this part. We have a lot of kids up north in like New York or Chicago, wherever they are in California, that call us up because their parents live here in Florida and they want to check up on their parents. So when COVID hit, we were getting a lot of calls where they were like, hey, can you go to my parents' home and set up Zoom? We need to be able to see them. They don't know how to do FaceTime, but we can't get them online. This thing is really cool for just that. Now, obviously, you don't need this to check up on your parents. You could do it via Zoom, like we're all on Zoom right now. But that's one of their really big selling points, is that you can actually have someone or a camera always kind of like monitoring your parents. You could put drinks in here and all this other good stuff. So check it out. Not that you have to buy it, but I just think it's cool to learn about. I personally don't need one. But this is just a beefed up Alexa. They call it Astro, but it is Alexa built on that system. And you can even call Alexa or Astro. So going back to this here, preview. Let's go to the smart home. I'm gonna just talk about a couple of other things that people actually have that works with these devices. So you can these are just, you can have a Ring doorbell. You can have the August door lock. There are a lot of smart door locks out there like that. And so what you could actually, when it comes down to any type of smart home device, there's so many out there, like so many. So these are just two of the doorbells. I do like the doorbell because let's say, for instance, you are leaving town and you want to kind of monitor to make sure that the FedEx guy is not just kicking your packages. You could do that right with the Ring doorbell or Google. There's the Google doorbell. It's called Hello. There's so many out there. I like Ring. Ring is actually owned by Amazon. It's a pretty solid platform. And you can also get cameras as well. Some people have cameras inside their home. We have one, like when we leave, we'll put it on the dog just to make sure that, she's cool when we leave. But you have the Ring doorbell for outside of your house, and it's helped out tremendously. There have been a lot of things that happen in neighborhoods we see on the news. Like there was a plane crash in Florida, like I think a year ago, and it was caught on a Ring doorbell. And they literally, it crashed into a car, and someone got the footage from their Ring doorbell, and they submitted it to the news, submitted it to the police officers. So it has helped out. If anything happens in your neighborhood, the Ring doorbell works. And you get a view of the person and a record of it, who rung your doorbell or who's like just walking past, because they don't even have to ring. They can actually just walk past and you could still pick it up. In addition to that, you have like smart thermostats. Now, I started out with the Nest thermostat, and it's not a bad thermostat. I think it's really great. I had like a first generation and I had the third generation. I wasn't a big fan as to how it would actually change the settings. So it's supposed to be smart enough for you to start saying, hey, you normally put the AC at 72 around 10 o'clock, so it would do it. And there were days that I liked it, and there were days that I'm like, all right, I'm not in the mood to be at 72 at this point. So I would always have to fiddle around with the settings on the back end. And then also I was having just some other issues. So I've always wanted the Ecobee because I thought it was like just slick. It works with Siri where Nest doesn't. And when it comes down to voice assistants, that was the point. So if I am being lazy and I don't want to go in the hallway, I could just say my voice assistant's name, and I could say, turn the AC down to 68. I want it really, really cold. And I'm able to adjust it. And I like that feature from the AC standpoint. In addition to that, outside of the voice assistants, both of these right here supposedly saves you money. So if you have it on Eco and you set it up, they're supposed to save you money on your electricity bill. And again, Nest works with, I think they may work with Alexa, but I know they work with Google Home because Nest is owned by Google. But these are a couple of different things and very popular device that a lot of people have in their home. When we were talking about switches before, if you really want to take your voice assistant to the next level, you don't have to get a smart light bulb. You can actually get, a smart plug. These are just a few of them. I got the ones that I'm using currently on Amazon. They're just a brand from Amazon. I've had like a Wemo. This brand, I think it's made by Belkin. Lutron light switch. You can actually pick this up at like a Home Depot. They're a really solid company. The Smart Life plug, which I got from Amazon. This is when you take your voice assistant to the next level. So if you did want to be able to control your lights, this is equivalent to what we used to always think was cool. Remember the device where you'd be like, clap on, clap off. Remember that? That was the coolest thing ever. I always wanted one, but my mom didn't want to get it, so we never got one. So I would just watch the commercial, and I never actually saw one in person. None of my friends' parents got one, but that's something I would never forget. This right here, you don't have to do that. You could just voice it. right to Alexa, right to Siri, right to Google Home, you could do it. I like the fact that I'm able to do it because, again, like I said, we have no switches. So everything we do in our home, if we have to go and hit a light, we would have to go in that corner. And it's not to say that we're just being lazy. Some of our lights are like not in reach. So we have it behind something or whatever, it's high up. So when I connected all these different devices, now we're able to, if we go on vacation, we're able to, the same thing you had before with the timer, we can just go on our iPhone and just say, you know what, let's turn on living room lights. Or before we leave, make sure that the lights are going on at this time every single day. Make sure that they shut off at this time every single day. When we leave, sometimes we leave our puppy at home, and she's there. And when we had the Nest, sometimes we would leave, it will recognize that we were outside of the house because we took our mobile phone with us. So they said, nobody's here. So let's just turn the AC up to 76 and we get back and it's hot in the house. Or we've been on vacation and our AC was like super hot and our plants were dying. So here you're able to control it, you know, even when you're away from home, manually on your phone, or you can say, you know, Siri or Alexa, do whatever. So that's the benefit of having one of these switches and marrying it to your voice assistant. Last part, it's a couple more things. The smart home security, this is Nest, they have Ring, they have so many. You don't have to have ADT, and if you do get ADT, they have a smarter version of the ADT. So you can, again, check this out, and this will work in conjunction with your Google Home and things of that nature. So you can have a smart lock, you can have a smart doorbell. So like if someone came to our house, probably about a month ago, we were out and my sister-in-law, and my mother-in-law came to the house, and they beat us there like 10, 20 minutes. And they're like, hey, we really got to go to the bathroom. And I'm like, oh yeah. So my wife ended up letting her in right from where we were. She's like, hey, I'm going to open up the lock right now. And, you know, we can turn off the home security system right from the phone as well. Again, you could do this with or without Alexa or Google Home or Siri. Last thing is actually two more things, the security. You know, I told you about all the different smart devices. Here's a coffee maker. You have the vacuum cleaner, you have the light bulbs, you have a lot of different brands out there. Do your research if you're into it. Hey, Frankie. You could actually even do the security for your home. So this is a firewall that we not even recommend, because a lot of wireless routers actually have a firewall. What a firewall is, just so you know, this one right here was basically kind of geared towards, hey, you got a lot of smart home stuff. We will protect that smart home stuff because it doesn't have a interface. But when it comes down to security, and I'll let Sean talk a little bit more about the security part, you can use a firewall like this, or you could just do the standard things that I tell you in the cybersecurity class. Set up two-step verification, have a strong password in general, have a nice password, strong password on your Wi-Fi itself so that no one can breach it. You want to basically make sure that you're doing your software updates. Sean had mentioned on our on Monday about how if you don't do the updates, these updates, they actually do give you nice features and stuff like that, but there's also a lot of security stuff coming along with that update. So always do that. If you get smart home devices, do that on your voice assistants so that you can actually have the IoT devices working in the right order, but also being, you know, you're being protected. So with that, everything can be smart in your house. They're making literally everything. Smart faucets, smart refrigerators, smart stoves, smart little, you know, ovens. They have all of these smart baby devices, which is very, 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 very cool. If you know, you want to start to look into what your voice assistants can do for you. So with that being said, we're going to open it up for Q&A. And please ask any questions. I flew through all of that stuff because I wanted to make sure that we had enough time to actually get, oh, I just saw Frida's message, get all your questions. So if you have any questions, please, this is the time to ask.
Yeah, so there was a couple questions that came in here. Eleanor, I know Eleanor was having a little bit of an issue with hearing you. Eleanor, can you hear me? Can you hear Julius? Better now? Are you there, Eleanor? Hold on.
Yeah, I'm here.
Can you hear a little bit better?
Okay,
here?
yeah, I'm here. And what I did is I ended up putting headphones into the computer because Julius was kind of whispering. So, you know, it did it. But the real question I had was about my iPhone
Yes.
not being able to get Siri when I just say, "Hey Siri." And this is a brand new 13. And I have to press on the button. So it loses the ability that if I'm laying somewhere and I want to call Siri, I
Yes.
can't do it because I don't have my finger on the button. So is there something, and I've gone into the accessibility stuff and I can't seem to get it to work. So
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Sean, do you have that that phone that you could share with the screen?
I'm sorry?
Or if not, I can actually, do you have that the iPhone 8 that you could share with the screen? Or
this is
I
13.
have to charge it up, Julius.
you know
I'm
what?
sorry.
Here, I'll share this one here. Give me 1 second. Let me see here. And I'll share this. I'll show you what you have to do. If what she's talking about, folks, is basically in the on the iPhone, you have the ability to basically either press a button for Siri, or you could just say, "Hey," whatever her name is. Because if I say it,
Yep,
she will
okay.
wake up for me. So how you do it, let me actually share my screen with you all. Okay. Wow. Here we go. All righty, I am trying, let's see here, Zoom. I used to be able to AirPlay it right to Zoom, and now it's not doing that. So I'll share my screen a different way. How about this? Let's go here.
Eileen, I see you wanted to add, I think you're talking about something on this, if you want to unmute. You're on
Okay.
mute.
Can,
I just wanted to tell Eleanor, I have the iPhone 13 Pro and I can say, "Hey Siri."
Yeah,
Anytime.
mine is supposed to be able to do that, but I just can't get it to do it. And I really like that feature that if you need help, you can call out to it. But
yeah. So Eleanor, now I'm in my settings. So if you
okay,
want
me too. Yep, I'm
Okay,
in my
so what you
settings
want
too.
to you want to go to Siri and search.
Okay,
And you see that first option at the very top, listen for Hey Siri?
yep.
Is that blue?
Well,
Or,
it's
is it green?
green. Yeah, that's on.
Okay.
All
So what I would do is I would turn it off, and then maybe are all those ticked on just like mine here?
yes.
Okay, turn it off, and then you can turn it back on and you can set it up again. And you can probably do it off the call because they're gonna probably walk you through. Like I just turned mine off, and right now they want me to set it back up. So I won't set it up on this call, and she's gonna take you through a series of Hey Siri, and then
Oh, okay.
then you can set it back up. But you don't want to do it on the call unless you mute. Then you can start going through this, and the key to it is just whatever's in the quotes, that's what you want to say.
Okay.
And then once you say that, then that should be set up where
Oh, okay.
you could just say HEY Siri, and I'll set mine up later.
Okay, sounds good.
All
Good.
right.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, so Diane had a question and Ally agreed with it. Do we have to be concerned about the electromagnet waves 5G emits on our health?
I think that's an excellent question. I'll say a part to it, and I know Sean, this is his world as well, but I know that I've did some research some years ago, and the big companies such as like Verizon, Sprint, AT&T, all in T-Mobile, they were all in the courtroom at some point and they were being asked these questions. And their answers were very nonchalant, kind of getting away from the answer, which makes me think, and I'm only assuming, I'm not saying anything with a matter of fact, but I do think that there's something to the 5G. And I'm not some type of, some people are like, oh, that's just conspiracy theory. Like, look, Wi-Fi is causing problems. That is a fact, right? Anything that's going to emit something, some type of waves, that it's going to do something. And sometimes we don't know what the ramifications are. So with 5G, it's it's a microwave technology, in a sense that microwave, think like about your microwave, they have to be in close distance. So like supposedly every 300 to 400 feet, if you start to notice them on the street as you're driving, and I'll show you some pictures before we get off, you're going to start to see these things everywhere. So for someone to say that it's not affecting us, you can't say that with a matter of fact when we just got it. You don't even know that. So I think the best answer would be coming from one of these CEOs to say, it shouldn't, but we have to kind of play it out. But Sean, what do you think about that? Because we get this question asked a lot.
Well, we've seen things, we've seen plenty of studies that have shown that there are definitely effects of even just having your iPhone on your ear all day, or even now they're finding out the AirPods are definitely heating up the side of your face, your cheek. I even had a bout of skin cancer about 2 years ago, and it was on the side that I hold my iPhone on all the time, and I'm generally a healthy individual, but I'm not saying that my iPhone caused it, but I am definitely highly suspicious of that, because if you look at the studies, facial skin cancer has gone way up since the introduction of cell phones. You can look all the way back to, if you look at people in the 70s versus people in the 80s, the 90s, and now, you can tell that the numbers have jumped with the advent of iPhones. Now, 5G has a much closer wave pattern, which the stronger the closer the wave patterns, the stronger it is. That's why 5G is able to produce so much more, of these waves that transmit information. But with those comes a higher radiation level. We all think of microwaves as generally safe. When we cook with them, it's not like they're microwaving the air around them. But if you could go on YouTube and look at any video talking about, harvesting magnets from your microwave and how careful you have to be to make sure they're unplugged. If you're going to plan on taking them apart so they don't work, they tell you to cut the power cord after it's unplugged so that there's no possibility of any way of radiation escaping from that device. They even tell you to wait a few minutes to make sure that any residual power is gone from the unit. So we know that radiation in the air can be highly unsafe. It's the reason we wear lead when we get an X-ray. It has to absorb those microwaves or it could be dangerous to you. So there's no definitive proof, because studies are not trying to show that. We all know that large corporations are going to want to sell their product at any cost. That doesn't mean that they're out there being malicious, but they also don't want to welcome unwanted press related to what they're offering. But we have seen things where when they first tested 5G at its full strength, bees were dying around there. Birds would fall out of the air in massive amounts. So it's definitely something to pay attention to. I recommend doing your own studies. And Julius and I are not in the business of spreading conspiracy theories. That's why we can't give you definitives. But I'm always paying attention to that stuff. I want to know that myself and my kids are safe, and also my clients. I want to make sure that we're giving out enough information to let them go on and do their own research and study for themselves, but we would like to clue them in on the possibilities.
Yeah.
Technology is excellent. It gets us through the day and allows us to be connected to our businesses, our friends, our family. And so there kind of is a middle ground that we kind of have to play there, but it makes sense to try to protect yourself and not just go willy-nilly on things
Just
that
be
include
aware,
safety.
absolutely. Just be aware. So it's a really good question. And as you're, just like he said, do your own research. But for anybody that's on either end of the spectrum saying it's definitely bad and it's definitely not bad, like just be wary of that because nobody can give you a definite answer as it relates to this. So yeah.
What about those squares that they sell that you could put on your devices to stop the electromagnetic thing, or the necklaces or the bracelets they sell and stuff? Do they do anything?
Can I speak to that?
Yeah, please.
Okay, so I have a girlfriend. She lives out of state, but she's into crystals and everything. That's just her thing. It's never been a thing of mine, but she put me onto something that I dug into and studied it. It's called shungite, and you can find all kinds of videos on that. You can look on YouTube where they're holding a meter for like a Geiger counter, which recognizes radiation levels, and they turn on a phone next to it, and there's lots of them, and scientists are even posting videos up as well. They'll put a phone next to, they'll turn on a phone with nothing next to it, and they'll put the Geiger counter up to it. You'll see it reading this high level of radiation, and then they'll just literally, while it's still on, put a piece of shungite between the phone and the Geiger counter, and you'll see the number drop drastically down to almost zero. So they make cases now with shungite built in them, and they make little plates that you can stick onto your phone that's there to, there's no guarantees. I'm not one to just co-sign that because it seems kind of crazy, but I will say that, she's always sending me shungite, everything, bracelets, necklaces, things to put on my desk. But it is a mineral that is, proven to absorb radiation. If that works from a distance, like on a necklace, when you're holding the phone by your ear, I can't say for sure that that really has any effect. But I would say that it's something worth checking out more. But don't believe everything you see on the internet, as you know, because a lot of people could say, hey, this absorbs radiation.
Yeah.
And it could just be a marketing tactic. So.
Yep. No, it's
Yeah.
great.
So Ali, I see you have your hand up. If you want to unmute. Okay, go ahead.
Thank you so much. Julius, excellent presentation as always, and I'm very grateful to be here. Excuse me. Just to co-sign on what Sean is talking about, he's absolutely correct. I've seen the studies, I've been in live demonstrations, and it's significant. I'm very sensitive, especially energetically, and I will say that the exposure to, like, for example, walking into smart buildings, you've got buildings that are wired for all of these smart features and what have you. And when you've got large residential facilities where everyone's got all this smart technology, my body is under siege. It's really something. And I've known of persons who've experienced the proliferation of tumor cells growing. And it's hard to measure subtly, but it's very real. And the other thing is, and just to give you an example, I remember telling my friend, babe, listen, we've got to negotiate this. You've got several laptops on, several cell phones on for his business. And I can't be in here when you've got all of this Wi-Fi on. It's too much for my body. It hurts. And he's like, come on, Allie, you don't feel that. I'm like, I do. I absolutely do. And he goes, I tell you what, hold on for just a moment, because it turned into an argument and it went into the night. And I was thinking of leaving because I felt so like my body was feeling under attack and my respiration was being affected. I'd had to go out on the balcony to get fresh air. I couldn't breathe. And my heart rate was being activated also, or exacerbated. Like it was I won't say it was going into like full blown arrhythmias, but I was feeling physiologically not well. And so he said, I tell you what, hold on. And he goes out of the room, he turns his router off and he came back. I started crying and I'm like, oh my God, thank you. He's like, what are you talking about? I said, you turned it off. And he was like, no, I didn't. I'm like, yes, you did. It feels so calm now. I don't feel anything. And I literally hopped up and looked and he turned the router off. So it killed the Wi-Fi in his unit. And that was a very non-scientific experience and experiment to see that it does impact us. And so often we're so busy, we're not paying attention. Now, if I'm experiencing that just in one visit, just for a few hours, I wonder what the effect would be if I was living there. I don't think I would have been able to live in that building without being sick. So anyway, there is EMF protection, and studies have shown, I put in the comments in the chat, that the proliferation of brain tumors, not to scare anybody, and I'm not a conspiracy theorist. However, this is real, this is science, and this is what the cell phone companies are not telling you. And they are really kind of quiet as it's kept, not promoting it for their own families, but it's something that sells. It's multi-trillion-dollar industry. So yeah, it's not going anywhere, but I'm putting it out there so we can be safe and educated and mindful. There is
I
technology
appreciate
that you
that, Ali.
can
That
purchase.
I think you're on point. I mean, it's unfortunate that sometimes we have to say, certain things that go against the grain to say, you're not a conspiracy theorist, but that's like kind of the thing you have to say. And then people are like, well, maybe he is a conspiracy theorist or whatever. But it's just more about, it's like back in the day, we were watching just a couple of months ago, my wife and I, about all of these lawsuits that, remember the Johnson & Johnson lawsuit, talcum powder, people, you would have had to say the same thing that you're saying right now. Like, hey, I'm not a conspiracy
As a
theorist.
disclaimer, yeah.
Sometimes, when I put this on, I'm not feeling well, blah, blah, blah. And then we found out that it was actually still causing problems. And today they're still selling it outside the US. And, there are people who are suffering from it. So yeah, you have to take a look and say, I asked myself the question, not just as it relates to technology. I'm big on technology, but I'm like, it wouldn't be a bad thing. We have been on vacations where we haven't used technology. We haven't been around Wi-Fi whatsoever. And we're still around. Sometimes you can't even really feel things because you're always surrounded by Wi-Fi. You're always surrounded by technology, unless you go out in the boondocks. Then you can be like, wow, things are kind of calm now, your body. So we can't say with authority, any company, like you said, these companies are making trillions of dollars from it. You can't say with authority that there's nothing happening to you. That just can't happen. So even how we kind of position technology, and I've always said it on these calls. I always talk about the good and the bad and the ugly. It's not to push these things on you, but it's like, hey, if you're interested in it, by all means. But talking about what we're talking about, there are tech guys in our industry that be like, hey, that's mumbo jumbo. Like, he's stupid. Like, this is the best thing since sliced bread. But these are real things that we have to be not concerned about, to say you have to be scared, but just to be aware and educate yourself and make the best decision for yourself as it relates to having this much technology around you.
That's absolutely correct.
Yeah.
That was not my question, by the way. That was just my comment, since we were just talking about that with Eleanor.
Okay. Oh, what's your question? Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Ellie.
Yeah, no worries. So here's my question. I'm about to get a new lock kit for my front and back door.
Okay.
Now, I'll be having people coming in my home to assist me with different things around my house. And so I've been in positions in times past where I've had providers or contractors waiting because I wasn't at home and they were closer than they initially told me, or they wanted to move the time up, or maybe I was running a little bit late. And by the time I got there, they were frustrated. Whereas because I already had a relationship with them, I could have easily, with the smart lock, let's just say, smart lock technology, could have let them in the house and just told them, hey, listen, get started. I'll be right there. That way they don't have to wait on me. So I'm in the position to upgrade my locks. And so due to breaking the key off in the lock, it opened up an opportunity for me to consider what else is out there in the marketplace. So I'm looking at this one like super duper Cadillac of some locks, and I know that really is relative. However, this is a really nice lock. I think the price point is about $300, and it has the ability to be Google ready. Okay, so it uses biometrics, so you can use your fingerprint to open the lock.
Yes.
It has a rotating keypad where the numeric combination isn't in the same place every time, and it's not 1, 2, 3, 4 for
Yes.
button number 1, on the button number 2, 5, 6, 7, 8, or whatever, A, B, C. You know what I'm talking about, the
Sure.
alphanumeric. So because it's on a LED screen,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm using that term lightly because I'm not real big up on the technology with the terms, but it's
Yeah.
on a lighted screen. So it's not a hard button, let's just say, where the alphanumeric representation is fixed. It's
Yes.
on the LED lighted screen. So on like attempt number 1 to get into my house, the
Mhm.
first button may have been 1 and then A, B, C, D.
Right.
But the second time, it may be key number 9 in the place that number 1 was, and then it may be XWN or something like that. Do you
Sure.
understand what I'm saying?
Yes, I do. Yes.
So that someone looking on would not be able to kind of hijack, my combination and break in, which is brilliant because someone at a distance can kind of see and remember, oh, okay, she pressed 2 times
Yeah.
over there, once over here, and 1 in the middle. Got
Yeah.
it. It's always changing. So it's got
Mhm.
that technology. It allows you to use your key if you want it to.
Yeah.
And I think there's one other feature for like the pro level. You can get face recognition or maybe facial recognition, and maybe it looks like your irises or something. I don't know. So I also want the ability to be able to rekey that lock. And I just wanted to know if you've had any experience with any of your clients, or just being in the industry yourself, if you have any experience in having a strong opinion on someone actually purchasing such a product. Would say you, because it also uses a transponder, I think, or like
Mhm.
RFD technology. You've got to have because it's Wi-Fi enabled, you have
Yeah.
to have a box near the door itself for it to read if you're going to use the Wi-Fi technology. Because say, for example, I'm on vacation and let's say I'm renting my house out for an AR, whatever that is, ARB. I'm not saying
Airbnb.
Airbnb. Thank you. Or I have a friend or family member coming over to stay, or maybe say I'm having a house sitter. I've got to have someone water the plants, or I wouldn't leave my
So
pet
Julius,
there.
have you had, because I know we're running out of time, we have
Oh,
hands
sorry about
up, but unless you want to message Ally on your own, because this is a really detailed question. I just feel
Yeah.
like we have a lot of, we were just, it's almost after 11.
I would say the short answer is, yeah, I have a lot of experience with it. We have someone install it. I personally just got the the level lock because I didn't want my lock on my home to even look like a smart lock. So it looks like a regular degular lock, but it has the ability for you to be able to touch it, for you to still use the old school key. And then you can also even get like a pad to put not right by the lock, but even on the side of your house, so that it could be covered and no one gets to see if you wanted, someone from an Airbnb or like a cleaning crew to go in. Or you can actually give them like a physical card like you get at a hotel, and they can actually use that. You can turn that on and off. And the last part of it is you can send them a digital key right to their iPhone and just say, you know what, here's a key. It's going to be set from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. And then it'll only work for that time for that particular person. And it has all of this really cool technology so that only when that phone comes out, it'll open up that lock. So that's the level lock. And there are other locks like that, but I thought it was the best because it doesn't look like a smart lock whatsoever.
So if we could just add that in the chat, and then if there's any other further questions regarding this, I think we can take that offline, just because I see that, I know Eileen had a question and John has his hand up. So if you want to add that, the level lock, there we go. Okay,
Level.
perfect. Awesome. All right, perfect. Eileen did ask a question, which is definitely brings us back to where we start here. What are some of the things that you ask Siri that, she doesn't feel like she uses it enough? Like, what are some other things besides what time is it? Can you call Adam? Can you call, things like that? Like, what are some of those things?
Yeah, the cool thing about it is like on my phone here, let me just show you this really quick. And it's really cool because you can tell her, hang on, just gonna show you my screen. So when you get into this here, not now, you could just, I took off the other thing, but I'll just say, what can I ask you? What can I ask you? And then when you type, or you say that to Siri, you can actually go in here and then it'll give you like literally everything, how you can get her attention, what you could do when it comes down to making a phone call my mom, send a message, find information, directions, music. Like you can just Google this, or you can just say, what are the things that I can ask her? And they're always beefing it up with every operating system update, as well as in between those operating system updates. So she can do a lot with it. And this is just me asking her, what can I ask Siri, right? And things that you could do. What can, you could say, what can you do? And again, they keep taking you back to this website here, and it's like, hey, if Siri isn't responding, but how do you get her attention? So as it relates to making a phone call, you can tap on this, and this is going to take you down a rabbit hole of how you actually can use her.
Great, thank you.
Very welcome.
All right, John, go ahead.
How you doing, everybody? Jules, just a comment. I have 4 smart switches that I installed and 3 plugs, smart plugs that I installed. And I've found them to be very helpful in the sense that you can do some safety things like turn the lights on in the basement before you go down to it. So if anybody's interested in this, I encourage them to get involved in it because it's more of a hobby to me, but it can be used. But my question really has to do with my TV, a Samsung smart TV that I added to my house 2 years ago. When I set it up, I put in my wife's Amazon account because she has the Prime and stuff under that account. And so when I go in the app for Prime Video, which I want to use tonight, I can't seem to get her free video. It keeps on offering me, the trial if I want to use it. And I just wondering if you have some thoughts of what my problem might be.
Yeah, so when you go into Prime on the TV, you're saying that it's trying to get you to sign up for Amazon Prime?
Yeah, if you go in and click on whatever you want to watch, it's saying, sign up for the 30-day, thing. But I shouldn't have to do that because I think it's my television is signed in under her account.
Yeah, so it sounds like she's not signed in. Based upon the if she has a Prime membership, like you said, what I would do is when you go into the Prime, there should be 2 options, either sign up or sign in. I would choose to sign in, and then they're going to give you 2 more options depending upon your TV. You can either toggle over and put in the email address and put in the password, or they will give you a link and a code, and it'll say like amazon.com / like my TV something. And then you would go there on the computer or on the cell phone, and I would recommend you're already to be signed into the Amazon account, like on the computer. This is the easiest way to do it. And then when you're signed in, it'll actually say, you're in her account on Amazon on the computer. When you go to that URL, they're going to say, register your device. And on the TV, there's going to be a 6-digit code. And you would just put in that code, wait about 30 seconds, boom. your TV will be married to the Amazon account, and then you should be able to watch those movies with no problems, the free ones, and then they also obviously offer some paid ones.
Okay, I don't think I did that originally, so I will try that. Would it be more advisable to go in on the, when you say going in on a computer or a cell phone,
Yeah.
to go on her cell phone through her, Amazon app?
Yeah, I wouldn't go through the app. I would go through the browser because you need to put in this URL. So
Okay.
even if you got her credentials and signed in on your phone, that's completely fine. And you could be right there in front of the TV versus like having a computer in another room. But sign in with her email and her password into Amazon, see that you're signed in, and then go to the TV to hit sign in to Amazon, and they should give you that 6-digit code, give you the URL to go to, and then you put in that code, and it's a 2-minute process if you're signed in. If you're not signed into our Amazon account, maybe a 3-minute process.
Okay, great. Thank you very much.
All right, you're very welcome.
Okay, I mean, this has been wonderful. Oh, Dorothy, go ahead. If you want to unmute. Hang on.
This probably shows poor understanding, but I just want to ask, is it possible to use the smart switches on I guess a regular TV I have a large screen, but it's not a smart TV.
So you can, but what I would, you can, because what'll happen is if you plug in your TV in a smart switch, basically you're able to turn off the TV via your voice assistant, but it cuts off all the power, right?
Oh.
And so I usually put those on lights because sometimes I don't want to cut off my TV completely. I want to be able to just turn it off. But lights, I want to turn them on and I want to turn them off. And that's actually shutting off the power if you were to do that. But can you do that with a TV? 100%. You can actually have a smart plug your TV into that, and then connect that to the Wi-Fi, and you'll be able to control it with no problems.
Can I add on something?
Oh, okay. Thank you.
So you mentioned that your TV's not smart, and I'm assuming your main purpose of that was to find out if you can make your TV smart using an external device. Yes.
Yeah.
There are different devices from different companies that you can plug in, and it'll connect to the HDMI input on the back of your TV. If you have HDMI inputs, you're not going to be able to put it on a 1950 black and white TV.
Yeah.
If you have a newer TV with the LED screen, they usually have an HDMI output in the back, and you could get, for example, if we're talking Apple products, and I recommend it if you're using an iPhone or a MacBook or anything like that, you can get an Apple TV hard unit. They're actually, you can get them at Best Buy or the Apple Store, or order them online from Apple. And it's like a little cube, like a little, square object that you can put right under your TV or hide it in a cabinet if you want. Comes with a remote control. It allows you to access smart TV channels. You can beam your phone to it. You can show your photos at a party. If you've got it in the living room, you can make a photo slideshow. All kinds of things you can do to make your TV really smart. Another popular option is the Roku stick. There's Roku devices, ROKU. I'll type it into the notes, the chat. But Roku is a very popular thing right now. And there's also things from Amazon you could get.
Amazon Fire Stick.
Yep, the Fire Stick. And a lot of companies are making these things that make a non-smart TV smart just by going to that HDMI input.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, we can't hear you, Dorothy.
Oops, just screaming. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
You're very welcome.
Okay. Okay, Barbara Waldron, go ahead.
Yeah, first, Julius, I have to say you're my rock star because I don't like to miss you for anything.
Oh, nice.
I have people working in my house right now, and I tell them they have to hold on because I cannot afford to miss you. So anyway, my question is, You mentioned something, I think it's called Astro something, the one that can bring you drinks. What is it called?
It's called the Amazon Astro. And you can go right on to the, like, on Amazon.com. And like I said, I just saw one in person. I thought it was cool. And it just kind of sits there and it's just watching. It's like a little robot. So you're able to definitely get that. So if you go, just Google Amazon Astro and you'll be able to read all about it.
Okay, because I had a question about it. Because I kind of like the fact it can bring you drinks, it can bark like a dog. I kind of like that. But while you were talking, I'm thinking, like my bedroom's upstairs and living room and kitchen and everything downstairs. Is it able to climb stairs? Like if I'm in bed and I say, bring me a drink, what happens?
Oh, no, then I think it'll probably just dispatch a man to bring it up there for you, but I'm not sure yet. If they have to work on that technology, but it cannot climb stairs just of yet. I've seen it, and it's just like little wheels on the bottom that it just rolls around in certain areas. And I even think that the surface in which it needs to be on needs to be a pretty flat surface. The carpets in this home that I saw, it was like they were pretty flat, so it was able to even go on top of the carpet. So that's a really good question. You might want to be mindful of that. Should anybody get that, it will not be able to go everywhere.
Oh, darn.
Yeah.
Okay.
You
All
can
right,
bring him
thank-
upstairs, you can carry him up the stairs for
There
the
you
night,
go.
but then he
Yeah.
can't get you the drink downstairs. so,
Get the drink
you
down.
know.
Perhaps if you get one of those mini fridges upstairs,
Yeah,
and
you
you
can
can
there you
probably
go.
have it work with that.
Yeah,
All right, I like those ideas. I'll think about it, but it's
All
going to
right.
kill my vision.
Let us know if you get it. That'll be cool. We can
Yeah.
check out yours.
Okay,
Awesome.
thank you.
so last question, Diana asked, is there a way to play Zoom on the TV?
You know, there is. Sean and I was just talking about this because we're as far as like getting a TV, we're in different physical locations right now, but at some point we'll be like doing these Zoom calls even in one location, but you certainly can, but there's going to be some other components you're going to need. You could definitely mirror this to the TV. Like Sean said, there's an Amazon Fire Stick, an Apple TV, and then you have the Roku where it allows you to share your screen to that TV. Now, if you want to just look at the TV and do everything from the TV, if the camera's here and you're looking up, people are gonna be like, why are you always looking up? So you're gonna have to get a camera on that TV, like a webcam, that'll actually be there to allow you to see everyone on the screen, and then they're seeing you sitting on the couch. So it's a whole setup, but it's definitely possible where you'll be able to do both on the TV.
Isn't that crazy that you and I were just talking about
We
that?
were just
this
talking
morning
about that right
the
before the
office?
call. Yeah.
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 So,
Yeah, I have a Fire Stick on one of the TVs. It's not a smart TV, but I have the Fire Stick on it. Could I do it with that?
You should be able to mirror your computer screen or your iPad screens. They'll allow you to share screens, but then the camera wouldn't be there. So if your computer screen is down here and you do your Fire Stick there, you can see everybody there, but you'll always be looking here, but then your camera's here. So people will be like, hey, well, Diane, look at us. And then you'll have to turn this way, and then now you're back on the screen. So if you want to do that whole Zoom experience there, you would have to get a webcam there and connect that to the computer that's going to allow it. We've set this up more for businesses because that's when they have like a whole boardroom of people there, and the camera's there, the TV's there. They have a computer just strictly meant for Zoom, and they're able to see all of that. Yeah.
But doesn't the computer have its own camera?
The computer does, but again, if you're trying to hook it to a TV, here's my computer. Imagine I have a TV here. You're gonna see me on the camera here. But if I put you onto the screen, the TV doesn't have a camera. So you would need a camera on top of that TV so they can see you, and then you could see everyone there that you're sharing from here, but your camera's on your computer. So you would have to get an external camera that will go on top of the TV and face it towards you so that they'll be able to see you, and you could see them. And then you can kind of put the computer screen over here or wherever, but everything will be done on a TV.
Yeah.
And how do you connect it to the TV? The
It will be
webcam?
via computer. Like, so you would be able, you would like screen mirror. There are ways where you can actually, you can physically connect your computer to the TV via a HDMI cord. And then you would have to have like an external camera that you would have to buy, like a webcam, if you will, and position it in a place where it can see you, the camera, and then on the TV, you'll be able to see everyone else and see the speaker, and you'll just face the TV instead of facing the computer, if that makes sense. So you'll need some other components. It's not
Would an
hard
old
to do.
webcam work?
What's that?
I have an old webcam. Would it be outdated?
It depends. If it works, it works. If you can hook it up to the computer and you can put it in a position, if it works, without seeing it, I would say you could probably use it, but you would have to get that set up. You're gonna need an additional webcam or place your computer in a place where it's up there. But I think a webcam will be the easiest, and then it'll come out through your TV speakers as well, the sound.
Yeah.